So, quick update. I'm here at the Layton School. I just love the name of the Layton School, just because it says Layton. Waiting for a friend. I hope you guys are aware, anyway, of the whole coronavirus issue and everything that entails. I had a whole lot of plans for April and May. It was going to be a really good month for my channel. I was hoping. For one, I had a vacation that was going on. That didn't happen now. And I was going to go around and make sort of a documentary on Killers of the Flower Moon. The book that was about the Osage murders that took place here, where I live. Which is like the first case of the FBI. It was like a Sherlock Holmes level mystery, and it took place literally right next door to where I live. It's an impressive case that I love the story of, and I was going to make a documentary of it, because the events of that book take place in April and May, and now that the Earth is off limits to civilians.
I'm sorry, Earth is closed today.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But it's not all in vain. I have a lot of free time because I'm off of work, because I can't work right now. Bars are closed, at least currently. So hopefully I'll have some time to do some research and studies and deduction and make some more videos. I'll put some time on my channel, which is sorely needed. But the update that I wanted to talk about specifically today, besides all of that, is about the case that I solved, or worked, a couple months ago. I don't say solved because my mandate wasn't to solve the case. I just worked on a part of it. But I wasn't the only private investigator who worked on that, I come to find out. Another investigator who I know started working on the case as well. And after the case was closed and we were allowed to speak about it, he agreed to take me under his wing, and he's going to show me the legalities of being a private investigator, show me the red tape, the political stuff, the legality stuff that I would have been lost on my own. So that case from 2 months back looks like it's actually proving to be the stepping stone for the rest of my private investigation career. Running my own private investigation agency, all of that could hinge on that one case and the guy that I'm here to meet today. He should be here any minute, and hopefully I'll have some updates to follow soon. Thank you for watching. Alright, day one of my official private investigation training is over. That was yesterday. I was training, and it went really well. I'm happy with how well it went. My instructor is a former Army vet, former police officer. He was a good police officer, not one of those lazy cops who doesn't do his job. And he and I think similarly already in regards to how we approach training and things like that. He's a very visual trainer. has to a hands-on, gotta go do it type of trainer, not a book smart teacher, which is fine. I like books, obviously, but this kind of training, very hands-on approach, works for me. And he has very similar, even though he's not exactly a Sherlock Holmes fan. I mean, he knows Sherlock and he's read the books, obviously, but he's not not like a super sleuth like us, like we're deductionist and all that kind of stuff. But he does have similar ideals. Don't bias your facts with preconceived theories and things like that. Some stuff that he said was almost straight out of Sherlock Holmes books. Even though he doesn't necessarily like focus his training around Sherlock Holmes like we do. He's a very practical, and I didn't realize how practical. Like even if you're not a Sherlock Holmes fan, or Sherlock Holmes reader, how close your study is to Sherlock Holmes already. A lot of the Sherlock Holmes stuff really is how investigators think, which shouldn't have surprised me. I guess it really didn't surprise me, but at the same time, it was a nice reaffirmation for me. Very reaffirming. That being said, some of the stuff that we did yesterday, he took me on a drive around town. Basically, he said similar to how he used to patrol when he was a police officer. He took me to... he just drove me around and he said he wanted me to find 5 things that I've never noticed before, which I thought was going to be a lot harder for me because I'm very observant already. But really what he wanted was just to find 5 things that have changed, 5 things that are different, that may not have been there yesterday, that 5 things that are different about an item. And so things like a pair of gloves, leather work gloves that were on a bridge that I saw. That was one of the 5 things. So it was actually not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. So that simple exercise, just find 5 things different. Make 5 observations, basically, is what he wants me to do. Which is not difficult for a deductionist. I don't know why it just cut like that. The next exercise we did was he drove me out to the cemetery. And he told me that I'm now surrounded by all the murder mysteries I could ever want. And I won't ever get in trouble. Like he says, he shows me a plot of ground where a family is buried. And he tells me to figure out how they're put together. What their family situation was. Which is a type of training that I never thought about. You're never going to upset anyone because they're already dead. That sounds more insensitive than I mean it to, but there's no one to upset in situations like that because they're already dead. Especially if you pick like an old enough one. He says it's actually just you're paying homage to that person. So that was an interesting practice and an interesting exercise that he had me do, and I enjoy that, and I would suggest that to anyone wanting to practice investigation, because you find this family that's all dead, and essentially you have a murder mystery on your hands. It's not necessarily a murder mystery, but it's a situation that you don't know anything about, and you've got to figure out this person's story and how they died and who they were, which I think is a super interesting style of training. The final exercise that he had me do yesterday was he took me out to an old warehouse and he says find 5 security flaws, 5 things. Basically, how would you break into this place? And that was super easy because the warehouse we went to has like no security, so that we were done with that in like 3 minutes. But all three of those exercises were really interesting to me. And that last one kind of reminds me of Sherlock's quote where he says, "Let's play murder. How would you murder this person?" And it's an interesting exercise to get in the head of a criminal and to kind of break down weaknesses and security flaws and things like that. And then there's a couple other things, like he picked out a name of a family that was buried at the cemetery, and he wants me to go back and investigate them on my own, without using the internet or anything like that, or use it as minimal as possible, and without spending any money. Don't spend any money to figure out who this person was. So it's an interesting exercise with interesting limitations on what I can do. And then, as it turns out, my idea to do a documentary on Killers of the Flower Moon may not actually be out the window after all, because that's an exercise that he wants to follow up on. He wants to try and go out there and investigate all the areas of the cemeteries and stuff around that book. So I might actually be filming that documentary after all. But I just want to keep you guys updated with my training log, I guess. This is kind of going to be a new series for me, it looks like. I'll keep you updated. Thank you for watching.